What's going on, Hokie Nation? Happy Monday. We got a special TSL today coming your way today. David Cunningham, all the way out in Seattle, is joining us on Zoom. I'm Giovanni Heater, joined alongside Nick Brown. The Elite Eight coming up tonight, Virginia Tech and Ohio State from all the way out in Seattle. We got it all covered for you, and it's coming up next on TSL today. Welcome back here on TSL today. Thanks so much for joining us. However, you may be watching, whether it's on YouTube or Spotify, we appreciate it. Go ahead and click that like, comment, and subscribe buttons for all of your future TSL content. Again, introducing our crew today, I'm Giovanni Heater, across the way, Nick Brown, and then all the way out in Seattle, who you'll see in just a moment, David Cunningham, of course, our managing editor here at Tech Sideline. David, how's Seattle first and foremost? Thanks so much for getting up extra early for us this morning.
Yeah, I'm doing well. It's actually not. I tell you what, I've been waking up at like 6 a.m. out here, which is of course 9 a.m. Eastern, so it makes sense. I still haven't, I don't think, fully switched over to Pacific time yet, but I'm good. I'm doing well. Final full day here in Seattle. Hokies don't tip until 6 local here, which of course is 9 Eastern, which is late. But it's been a fun few days. Obviously, Evan Hughes and the team are in town. I've seen Evan and spent some time with him here and there, and I've got some friends out here that I've seen. So it's been good, and the Hokies played pretty well on Saturday, and they got another big test tonight against Ohio State. So I appreciate you guys having me on, and let's talk some hoops.
Yeah, so first off, let's go back to the Tennessee game. Tech only played 6 players. Do you think that played a big role in Tennessee being able to come back? They played 11.
I think it's interesting. Maybe you could say yes, maybe. And of course, Kenny Brooks was asked yesterday on Sunday about how are you guys going to deal with the press as far as Ohio State is concerned. And he goes, well, people are talking about us only playing 6 players. Ohio State only plays 7. So, yeah, I think there was some fatigue. I think there was some cramping for the Hokies. Taylor Soule and Deasia Gregg both cramped up at different parts of the game. It's tough because this is the same rotation that Tech's played all year, right? It's not like it's anything new. It shouldn't be anything new. So these are the same players. I can see why people would be like, okay, it's a shorter bench, Tech, that's why Tech couldn't break the press as well. That's why, Tech got a little frustrated and flustered because it only had 6 players. But to be honest, this is the same group that's done all year for Tech. I don't think that should be an issue. I think it just got to the point where, I think Tennessee's press like really just got into them. And I don't think it's interesting. It was interesting listening to Georgia Amore and Kayana Traylor mentioning yesterday. One of them mentioned that they weren't really expecting it from Tennessee. They knew it might happen, but they weren't exactly expecting it. It was kind of like out of nowhere. Oh, hey, Tennessee's pressing now. We've got to figure out a way to get around it. And I think they're going to be way better prepared coming into today's game against Ohio State simply because they know that it's going to happen at some point.
So, David, you talked about that press. Ohio State prides themselves on that vaunted press. Do you think Virginia Tech will struggle? You were just talking about how you feel like they're going to be more prepared because they're expecting it. Kind of break that down for us.
Yeah, well, again, this is something that Virginia Tech has seen all season. And it's funny because like their national media members here that are joking and laughing like, oh, Virginia Tech hasn't seen it all year, blah, blah, blah. And it's like Virginia Tech couldn't handle it against Tennessee. And it's like, I would beg to differ. Virginia Tech has been okay against it this year. The Hokies weren't great at the beginning. They didn't fare well against Miami and Clemson on the road. But they slowly hit their stride, and they got better against it. They played Louisville. They played Duke 3 times. They played Miami twice. They played Clemson once. They lost 3 of those first 4 games, and then they've won every other game. And they're 7-3 this year against teams that really full out press you, including Tennessee, if you want to throw Tennessee in there. Again, it was funny. National media members are joking, hey, Tech hasn't seen the press, and Tech was rattled by the press. And it's like, Tech has seen it this year. Tech maybe didn't handle it as well some other times. But I do think this is an opportunity for the Hokies where, it's coming. Just be ready for it, right? I think Taylor Soule has been huge to Tech's ability to break it, because not everybody has as many nobody really has a versatile 4 or 5 like that can bring the ball up the floor and handle it as well as she can, often as she does. I think she's important, but I think it's got to be a group effort. And I think, here or there, Tech's had a couple of miscues. I mean, it wasn't perfect against Tennessee. Georgia Amor, Cannon Traylor both had some, a share of their mistakes. But I think as a whole, Tech has been okay. And I think I would expect Tech to be fine against it. I mean, I know Ohio State, it's going to be crazy, and it's going to be for 40 minutes. But it's think about it as it's 10 seconds of every possession. And, it's not like once Tech gets into the half court, into the front court, and Tech's running half court sets, it's going to be fine. It's just getting across half court that is the issue. And when you think about it like that, like it's only really half the game, I think Tech is going to be okay as long as it can stay composed.
Do you think that Tech turned over the ball 18 times, and a lot of that obviously in the second half off the press? Do you think Tennessee is going to have more turnovers forced against Virginia Tech than Ohio State will tonight, simply because they're more athletic, longer, bigger than Ohio State is?
That's interesting. I would say, I don't know. I would say potentially, I would probably lean towards Ohio State, maybe. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, again, this Ohio State team turned UConn over 25 times, right? Like that's a lot of 25 turnovers in 40 minutes is a lot. I don't know. Again, Tech has not had more than 20 turnovers all year, and now they turned over 20 times against Duke, 20 times against North Carolina in 2 games against them. I think 20 times against Kentucky. So, I think they'll probably get close to 17, 18, 19 turnovers. I think that's just the way it's going to go. But again, Tech will be fine if it can keep its composure. I think that's the biggest thing, and not let the Hokies have to be able to dictate the pace today. Have to be able to dictate the pace. If Ohio State, if they let Ohio State press them and get them all out of sorts, it's going to be a long night.
We've been talking a lot about the defense here on the side of Ohio State, David. I want to ask you about the offense. What do the Buckeyes have to offer offensively?
Well, I tell you what, Cody McMahon, she's a 6-foot true freshman, and she is a phenomenal player. She's only a freshman, which is crazy to think about. And Kenny actually mentioned it. Kenny mentioned that he takes his youngest daughter, Gabby, on recruiting trips every so often in the offseason. And one of the trips they went on, I guess last year, was to go see Cody McMahon of Ohio State. And Gabby didn't really, know many of those players' names, but knows who Cody McMahon is because she's just that good. And, they've watched her throughout the year, and she's really, really talented. She's going to pose a lot of problems. I mean, she had 23, I believe, against UConn. This is a good Ohio State team with a ton of depth. J.C. Sheldon is their point guard. She hit the game winner against North Carolina. She's really talented. Taylor Mikesell, I believe her name is another. I mean, she's their leading scorer, and she only had 9 against UConn. But this is, Kenny Brooks mentioned it. This is a team where defense, they're kind of like looked at as defense first, but they run as good offensive stuff as pretty much every other team. They're pretty good offensively. I will say this. I think Virginia Tech's defense has been extremely good like very, very good lately. I think that's
Yes.
important. The Hokies have to continue to stay solid on the defensive end, but it's, that has kind of been their boost. So I think it's going to be a really interesting game, clash of styles where not many people think about the Ohio State offense versus the Virginia Tech defense, but I think that's where the battle could be won, right? If Virginia Tech can kind of limit Ohio State on that end, um, a team that has some really, really talented players, I think it's going to come down to who can control the pace. And, we know Ohio State wants to kind of get out and go, and the Hokies obviously want to slow it down. So I'm curious to see kind of how it plays out. But this Ohio State offense is pretty good.
David, do you think, or who do you think is the X factors for Ohio State and Virginia Tech today?
I think Mike Sell is probably the X factor for Ohio State. She just had kind of had. I mean, Georgia Amore referred to her as an offensive juggernaut the other day. And she's really, really talented on that end of the floor. I just think she can make life really difficult if she's just in the zone and hitting shots. As far as Tech is concerned, honestly, I think this is this game has Elizabeth Kitley written all over it. Honestly, Ohio State does not have the size to match up with Virginia Tech. This is going to be interesting. It's not going to be like Florida Gulf Coast last year, but it's going to be similar, I think, where Ohio State is going to try to draw Kitley out of the lane. When Tech's playing defense, draw Kitley out of the lane. Tech might be better in some instances in going small and playing Deasia Gregg and Taylor Soule at the 4 and the 5 because they're interchangeable pretty much, and they can guard 1 through 5 and pretty much switch everything. I'm curious to see how Ohio State handles Elizabeth Kitley. She's 6'6". They have one player taller than 6'1", I think, or two. It's going to be really, really interesting. I think Kitley will have a good game. I'm just curious who's going to complement her. And I think honestly, this game could be big for somebody like Taylor Soule. I think her versatility is important. If she can, assuming she can stay out of foul trouble, her ability to guard defensively, she's going to probably match up against Cody McMahon, which is of course a huge matchup. I think there are a lot of people you can pick as X factors, but I think Georgia Amore and Kayana Traylor are going to be big too. I mean, they just need to control the tempo. But I think Mike Sell for Ohio State, if she gets in the zone and she's hitting shots, that's just going to be a different level Tech's going to have to defend at. And on the other end, I think Elizabeth Kitley can just have a day. I think Tech kind of might need it. It just kind of depends on the way the pace of the game goes. But I think Tech controlling the pace of the game, Georgia and Kayana Traylor kind of just slowing it down and making sure Tech has the ability to run its offense, I think is important.
David, another one for you here. This one a little more basic. How about that atmosphere last night between Iowa and Louisville? Obviously, Caitlin Clark absolutely went off for the Hawkeyes, but it looked like that place was rocking. Are you expecting a similar crowd tonight?
Well, I'll tell you what. I told some of my friends this yesterday. Seattle is like Climate Pledge Arena in Seattle is the perfect place to put a women's basketball regional. Because there's so many neutral fans that genuinely care so much about women's basketball. I mean, Sue Bird was there yesterday. Like, I don't know. I assume you guys saw that. Like, yeah. Sue Bird and other Seattle, like so many Seattle people are just coming out to watch women's basketball, and that's awesome. Yeah, it was pretty much sold out yesterday. That was a brilliant crowd. Obviously, Caitlin Clark draws a lot of it, and I tell you what, to be able to witness her drop the first ever 40-point triple double in college basketball history in the tournament is pretty wild. But I don't know. I think it'll be a good crowd. I don't think they'll get bad crowds here. I just would note that a lot of that crowd was Iowa fans, and I don't know how many people are going to stick around. It's like, think about this. It's 6:00 on a Monday night here in Seattle. I think there are a lot of locals that'll come. and I think there'll be a lot of fans from Virginia Tech and Ohio State that are there. But this is the last game in the regional. This is the last Elite Eight game, period. It's going to be interesting, like even like from a media perspective, like there aren't going to be a lot of media members there. It's going to be the national media. It's going to be the people who cover Virginia Tech, the people who cover Ohio State, and that's it. There have been a ton of UConn people and Tennessee people that have stuck around. Obviously, Iowa had its own people. So I think there are a bunch of different factors that go into it. I think it'll be a good crowd. I don't know if it'll be as loud as it was last night because Caitlin Clark also helps draw a huge crowd too.
All right, David, last one for you here. Virginia Tech matching up against Ohio State instead of UConn. And at this point, it probably doesn't matter, but what was the maybe more favorable matchup for Virginia Tech? Would you have rather have seen them play UConn after they looked very human against Ohio State? Are you scared of Ohio State at all? Or just kind of your thoughts on the matchup and what could have been compared to what is?
Well, I think it's very interesting that that everybody was joking about a UConn Tennessee Elite Eight, and
right.
But as Chris Coleman put it on Twitter, both of those teams will meet in the consolation bracket. No, I think I'm not worried about Virginia Tech against Ohio State. I mean, again, this is a team, a style that they've seen already this year. It might be a little bit different, but in many ways, this is a style that they've seen, and I that shouldn't worry anybody. Will they get flustered at times? Probably. That's basketball. But I do think like UConn, Gino Auriemma in March, and just UConn in general. I think staying away from UConn is great. But also, I mean, the Buckeyes are hot, right? Like that's just the way it is. I think you were going to get a good team either way. Would you rather play the historic UConn, or would you rather play an Ohio State team that is fighting for its life right now, like you are? And I think this sets up for a really good basketball game because I don't think a lot of people know what exactly to expect, or they kind of know what they're going to see, but don't know exactly how it's going to play out. And I think UConn is just, even though UConn lost, I don't think ever want to play UConn in March. I think that's kind of just the way it goes. So I think this will be a really good matchup, and Hokies are one win away from the Final Four, which is just amazing to say. They win, they get Kim Mulkey and LSU, which I'll mention on here. Kenny Brooks took Virginia Tech. The Hokies made the NCAA tournament for the first time in 2021 because they didn't make it during COVID when it was shut down in 2020 when they should have. Tech played Baylor in the second round, and that Baylor team was a buzzsaw. Kim Mulkey was the head coach. And for those who have listened to Kenny Brooks, for those who have followed along with the team, you would know that Kim Mulkey shared some pretty cool words with Kenny after the game, which is essentially, this group is really, really young. They're going to be okay. And this was, I think, Amor and Kitley and King were sophomores, right? Now they're seniors, and now they're a number one seed, and they're going up. They're going to be the higher seeded. If they were to win and play LSU, they'd be the higher seeded team against a Kim Mulkey led team. So I think that's a really cool storyline on just where the program has come in the past couple of years. I guess Kim Mulkey kind of predicted it, but I think that's kind of just the trajectory that the program's been on, and this is a huge moment. I tell you what, there was a pretty good Tech crowd there on Saturday. I was pretty impressed with the number of people that showed out. I don't know how many, will be able to come out since it's a Monday, but I think it'll still be a pretty good showing.
Very, very quick pick 'em. Who you got, Maryland or South Carolina tonight on the other side?
I don't think you can pick against Don Staley in South Carolina, man. I think Maryland can. I think Maryland can keep it close. Don Staley and South Carolina are just wicked good, man. I don't think you can really pick against South Carolina. I will say South Carolina and Don Staley versus Caitlin Clark in Iowa. That would be a very, very good Final Four matchup.
Very glad that Virginia Tech does not have to meet either Iowa or South Carolina until the event of a national championship game. David, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Enjoy the game tonight and enjoy some sightseeing today out in Seattle before tip-off.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on. And I don't know, I don't know if you guys know my schedule. I fly back on Tuesday. I'm supposed to get back into DC around 9 o'clock on Tuesday night. Fly out around 12 local on Tuesday. There's a chance I just turn around and go straight to Dallas if Tech wins. So I don't know when the next time I'll see you guys. It might be Wednesday. It might be next Tuesday. We'll see. So
well, I hope I see you next Tuesday.
I hope we're doing this again from a Dallas hotel room soon.
Yeah, I hope so too. And I don't know, maybe you guys need to try to get the boss man to pay your way to come down and cover the NCAA tournament. We'll see.
All right, you heard it here. Will Stewart, David Cunningham needs support down in Dallas.
Oh, I didn't say that. I was just I will say this. If Virginia Tech makes the Final Four, man, like this is going to be not that. I mean, there's no guarantee that Kitley will come back or anything. But this team is a team of destiny. Now, for how long we don't know, but if you have the opportunity to watch this team play, whether it's tonight in Seattle, whether it's next week in Dallas if they make it, or I guess it's this week in Dallas, which is scary to think about.
True.
Go watch them play. They're the best team in program history, and that's why I was joking. I said you guys should just take off, and drive down to Dallas and go watch Tech play in the Final Four because it'd be totally worth it. You're going to remember this team for a while, especially since you guys are students. But for anybody listening, it was cool to see. I know a couple people that flew up from California just like literally flew in midday on Saturday, watched or I guess late Friday night, watched Tech play midday Saturday here, and then flew out Saturday night or early Sunday morning. Just so they could come up and see Tech play. So
that's
the
dedication.
the support has been unreal, and as it should be, right? I mean, this team is 30-4 for a reason. So
awesome. All right, David, we thank you once again. 9 o'clock tip off tonight. You can find it on ESPN. Virginia Tech, the 1 seed. Ohio State, the 3 seed. Should be a great one between the Hokies and the Buckeyes. Winner to the Final Four. For Nick Brown, for David Cunningham, I'm Giovanni Heater signing off, and we'll see you next time.